The ball really well, coming off the back of their transition. They refuse to take the touch in the midfield, see that the defence are retreating, just surrendering all of the field position. And it's, you know, it's good. It's really good heads-up rugby and recognition, just to say, okay, you're going to sit off, we will just pass around the outside and create the overlap.
China, oh, a little fumble off the kickoff. Off the tap off rather, so we are back in Wales possession, and this is a very strong start from Wales.
Yeah, Wales have always been one of those countries that can just, oh, that's a lovely little show of acceleration, goes through the gap, and Wales are really starting hot early doors. 3 tries in 2.5 minutes.
They certainly are. Ocean Airs with the 3rd score, and they are playing lovely, lovely stuff out here, performing in front of the cameras.
Yeah, I feel like the coaches have been firing them up in the sub box before the game, because you can tell that this is a really well drilled side. They've got this, they've got a defensive pattern, sending players up together, always having someone on side to come up. And you know, Wales are such a well structured country in the way that they develop their touch players, that I'm not surprised to see some of the patterns you see at opens levels being implemented at under 15s.
It is impressive. What can China do in the face of this impressive Wales start? They've got a bit of field position, but ball back in Wales possession now. And the key for China here probably is a really strong defensive set, isn't it? Just to try and force their next possession to be as high up the field as they can. Yeah,
and the positives for China when they've got possession is that you know, they've had an opportunity before the turnover, and they completed all their touches. They got to 6th touch. So, you know, that's groundwork to build upon, and if you can build on that, then you can cause some problems. But the footwork is naughty. Go around the outside. Superb step.
Sienna McCormack dancing through the Chinese defence. Well, she's got those pink boots on, hasn't she? You've got to be able to dance through the defence if you're going to put them on, don't you?
Yeah, my old contact coach said if you've got bright boots, you've got to be able to wear them, and she can definitely do that. It's a lovely left foot whack. Just getting back on the inside. Covering defender, you know, made up the ground really well to cut out the space in the corner, but the big step just to create more on the inside, it's just too good.
Thoroughly impressive start from Wales. 20 minutes each way. Remember, those of you that tuned in with us last weekend at the mixed touch series will have seen that those are only 20-minute games, but we're at 40 minutes here today, 20 minutes each way. And be prepared for Sunday, where the potential for a drop-off will come into play. Wales, though, looking as though try scoring is where they're going to be at.
Yeah, and you know, I'm having a look at some of their setups, and they're trying to set up some quite advanced plays. That's really nice recognition. Touching defenders offside, just puts the burners through. And I feel like Wales can just see themselves, you know, ease themselves into the rest of this game, really build on your structures, focus on getting, you know, your techniques right, your tactics right, you know, focus on the basics, get the basics going really well, and then you'll be able to just put more and more pressure on as the game continues.
Finley Britton with the 5th try there. Stunning start from Wales. This is the way to kick your tournament off.
Yeah, this is, you know, this is a dream for Wales at the moment. They've just been able to go through their motions and force errors, and unfortunately they've just forced another error there from China, just overstepping the mark. You know, when you get touched, you've got to put the ball down immediately in the moment you've got touched. You can't take the extra steps. Referees are really hot on that. It just surrenders the possession to Wales.
Wales having another go and getting across again, and it's the 2nd score for Ocean Airs. 6th try for Wales, 2 for Airs. They are loving life out there early on.
Oh, forward pass given.
Oh, that's a late decision. Probably a correct one, though. There's a lot of forward movement in that pass.
Yeah, and it's one of those where you've just got to really exaggerate the action of the arm, really like throw your arms out and pull the ball backwards just to get the referees onside. Because touch is one of those games where you can get away with a couple, you know, marginally forward, we'll say, in the benefit of the players. As long as you paint the right pictures for the referees, you'll get the decision that you like. Oh, lucky.
China go again. Can they break through early on here against this early Welsh storm?
Yeah, for me, I'd just like to see China go forward a little bit more on the first touch of their set. It's like they just take a touch just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, and unfortunately that's what happens, is you run out of those touches to play with. So if they just, add some directness to their play, make sure that they get down the field, and then you can, relax and set up a design strike play. But when you're in the midfield, goal number one should be get to the line as quickly as possible.
Wales advance again, and they are advancing so far each time they have the ball. And China perhaps need to just put the pressure on a bit more in defence, send a runner up perhaps, just to try and close that space down.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that's hurting China the most in this is in these circumstances is when they make the touch, they're really static coming out. When you're in line D, you need to be making that touch, pulling that corner really hard to get back to the line and onside.
Wales do have their sixth out. Thomas Pris-Evans getting his second score of the game. This one does remain. So 6-0, Wales lead. I have to say, the surface out there looks amazing. We've been up here at Nottingham University before, and this pitch can be a bit susceptible to the rainfall, but I'll tell you what, it is looking magical.
This is one of those pitches of dreams that, this is where, as a child, you're envisioning that intercept on your own try line, running full length. This is the pitch you envision it happens on. Yeah, good call from the referee there. That could have been the other way, but I think she's got it bang on there. Ooh. Good footwork. Really good footwork.
China. Biggest chance of the game so far. They try and go diving through, but the touch comes in.
Yeah, I'd like to see China use their touches a little bit better. At the moment, they're rolling the ball and then running straight for the line with, pace and power, and you might have that, but it's easier to use that when you've got offside defenders to run at. At the moment, all of the defenders are onside and can just hold the space on the line. So if they use their touches a little bit more productively, they'll be able to catch Wales retreating, because when on the ball, China are fast. They're just not using it in the right areas.
Wales certainly have been using the ball in the right areas as they get across to their subs box and just get a little isolated from the players coming on, but they get away with it and they're still progressing up the field. Now they go, could be an opportunity here, pass comes in, oh, pass just goes down. It could have been a second for Stevenson, but it'll be China ball.
Yeah, it's a really good cover there from the play on there. Yeah, trying to get away with just a little bit of confusion there, but you just want to be taking this ball really fast up, not worrying about who's in front of you or what's in front of you. Just get the ball in hand, get moving forward, create some ground, because at the moment they've taken 3 or 4 touches in and around the same area, and you're not really going to have the opportunity to attack and make something happen from your own try line. It's just asking the impossible.
They've used all their touches there, and it's given Wales possession right in Chinese territory. There could be an opening here, but just slipped, so they'll... Oh, the touch, well, they thought the touch was going to be made after the slip. It wasn't, and Wales alert to that, and Finlay Britton now has 2 to his name, and Wales goes 7 scores in front.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just think the defender's still offside. Yeah, hasn't retreated the full 7, probably just misses it by a metre or 2. And then, yeah, it's a really easy pick-up. Player benefits from a good call from the referee, really clear call of offside, and the player's like, okay, thank you very much, sir. I know exactly what I need to do now. And it's just an easy read there for Wales. But again, it's moments like this where China look like they can create space from nothing. If the cut had been executed, they had an overlap on this short side. It's just the 1%ers that aren't quite coming off for them.
referee's pulling Wales back. In fact, the referee has turned possession over to China, and I wonder, given the field position, if they might just be able to create something. As you say, though, they've got to use their touches with a bit more dynamism.
Yeah, this is the pod that looks like they could do it. You just need to see, you know, engaging that touch, taking the ball down really early, and then just snapping straight away. But unfortunately, the hips aren't square when he's dumped the ball. Just rushing through some processes. And it's like, just take a moment. You've got time. Use your touches effectively. Because when they're running in open space, they've got real power and pace.
Of course, we've got to remember this is the under-15 age group. There's a lot of learning and development going on in-game as well as over the weekend and over the years. And for a lot of these young China players, certainly to my untrained eye, as Wales go through, can they find a spare player? They can on the left-hand side. I think it might be Ifan Roberts. I'll try and confirm that. It's an 8th for Wales. But I think it might be Livy Ninian Kurupatawa.
Yeah, lovely little ball manipulation there. Just throws the dummy, opens the space, goes through. He's half, so can't score by himself, needs a supporting player. And like every good winger, just there to dot the ball down, get the score on the board.
Kurupatwa. I apologise. That's the pronunciation there, I believe. But yeah, I was saying, to my untrained eye, it looks to me like China have got some quite talented players in there, but maybe need to start trusting the teammates a bit more. There's a lot of attempts to go sort of use what skills they have on an individual level, and maybe just need to bring in those around them.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of it could be put down to just playing in the right areas as well. Like at the moment, it's very much, you know, picking the ball up, running really hard, but not having the structure and support around them to make that effective. And it, you know, they do a lot of hard work to force turnovers, to get into the opposition area, but then maybe just lacking that game sense and composure to take a second and just go, okay, we're not set. We don't have anything on. Let's take a second, let's create an opportunity, and then we can use our natural attributes to go and execute that.
Wales using their natural attributes fantastically well, and they score the try, and that's a lovely gather and put down from Jacob Dalton. Two players that could have scored that try, but Dalton arriving like a train and just dotting the ball down all in one movement, and it was good work from Finlay Britton, who's looked to stand out in these early stages.
Yeah, something that Wales are doing really well is on their transition, their final touch, they're picking up and scooping towards the short side. The two times that China have defended that and they've collapsed, they've also have options on the open side, so they're able to check back really effectively and find options regardless of where the defence are showing that they want them to be. So, you know, if you're a coach for Wales and you're watching their transition, you're thinking, okay, how can we make our transition more effective? At the moment, you'd be struggling to pick any holes up because the attack is... Score?
It looks like China might just have their first score of the game. Zhang Chen's son with the try. He's looked like one of those players we've been talking about that has bags of talent, and he's shown it there.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of an unorthodox hammer play, maybe a little bit static. But he picks the ball up really nice, really long and strong dive, ball out well ahead of his body, gets the ball down. Wales defender says that he did make the touch, but Graham Moy, the on-field referee, I've got to give him a shout-out, Derby local as per myself. Really in a really good position to see that the ball was down first. And, you know, China get their reward for the good touch that they've put out there.
Derby local. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Little supporters club up here.
Yeah, we've got to shout them out when and where we can. It's not often you get a lot of Derby locals in one place.
Barely even in Derby. Wales go close again. 9-1 they currently lead. Around about 4 minutes left till half-time. And as we think about that half-time break as Wales build another attack, what sort of conversations do you think? I guess Wales is fairly simple, more of the same, but if you're China, as Wales do cross again, try is going to be given to Noah Williamson, who made that scything break earlier on. What sort of conversations do you think China will be having and need to be having at half-time?
So for me, the glaring problem is the scoreboard. That's the glaring problem. What I would say is let's squeeze our defence together really tight. Let's force, to the best of our ability, Wales to throw long, because they haven't had to throw long yet. And if you can force them to throw long and limit the amount of opportunities they'll have in the, in the middle channels, maybe outside of the links, then the odds are in your favour at the moment. If you think about the percentages, these are really high quality opportunities for Wales. And for China, if you condense that defence, you limit the space available to them. The thing that they can do to help in that instance as well, in those situations, is when you make that touch, get to your line as soon as possible. Retreat to that 7 as quickly as possible. Some players just hanging around the touch a little bit too long, and when your opposition are rolling through at speed like Wales are showing that they can, that becomes really hard to do.
Williamson through for another, and China, I think, were thinking that the play was going to get stopped there, so they didn't track through on Williams' run, and that just allowed an easy score in the end.
Yeah, and that sort of accredits what I was just saying about making the touch and pulling really hard, because China were maybe just a metre, a foot offside, but that's still offside regardless of how close you are, and it just makes their life a lot harder, especially when they're trying to make meters in attack. But this is much better from China. Really good meters made. Use the pace trying to get round the outside. Probably just won't have it. Big goose step, feeds the ball off. I think the referee's going to call offside.
You could see what he wanted to happen there. He just didn't have enough people on his outside to start bringing in. He needed someone cutting back against him once he went that way, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And I think your supporting players can maybe get a little bit closer, but China showing some more attacking impetus, trying to attack the line, force Wales to stay honest. I would just like to see the ball getting off the ground a little bit quicker for China, because it gives the defence an opportunity just to get off the line a little bit more relaxed than probably they should be. So if they can get the ball down and pick it up quickly, as they have there, but unfortunately it's off the mark. But that's exactly what they should do. Take the ball down, put the pace on, and then look to find your wingers, because at the moment your wingers are in a lot of space.
And those are the areas you can live with, really, aren't they? It's the defensive ones that are harder to live with sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And Wales now starting to show a couple mistakes here and there. There's a ball down there, loss of control. So China starting to force some turnovers through good effort of their own. It's just whether they can piece together a structured attack to really threaten the Welsh line.
And that hooter, something you're going to become very familiar with over the course of the weekend. The touch rugby hooter to signify the start of the game, half-time and the end of the game, and that one is for half-time. We go in at the break. Wales leading China 11-1. It's been an absolute stonker of a first-half performance from Wales.
Yeah, Wales have just come out the blocks firing. Their transition is looking really smooth, really clean. In defence and attack, they look really well structured, relying on, really tight defensive spacing, and then in attack, scooping through and looking for supporting players. And yeah, they just look really hot, to be honest. The first game, first day, that's a way to set the tone.
Certainly is. It helps that they've not had to travel 2,000 miles or whatever it is from China. But I'll tell you what, while we've got a bit of time at half-time, it is worth us just having a little chat about just how awesome this entire weekend is, the Atlantic Youth Touch Cup. We've got 10 teams from around the world, 4 teams from pretty close locality, England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales, couple from mainland Europe in France and Belgium, and then how about this for some travellers? Obviously China, who we're watching right now, South Africa, the USA and the Cayman Islands. That's a pretty cool field.
Honestly, I love it. I actually love it. This is such a good expose for touch. It just shows that, especially for the likes of the Cayman Islands, if you'd have asked someone, a conventional rugby fan, who would have turned up to a touch rugby tournament in Nottingham, I think the last team they ever would have said would be the Cayman Islands. But they're here to show that anyone can play touch, as are China, as are South Africa. And, there's going to be some absolute starlets in these sides. There's going to be people who in 5-10 years time will be talking about some of the very best players in touch. This is like that early exposure, and you can start picking out your favourites here and now.
You certainly can, and as we heard only a few moments ago, just before the game, from Mark Croston from the Federation of International Touch, as much as anything, I mean, yes, there are prizes at the end that we're playing for, but in reality what we're playing for here is the sheer experience, particularly for those that have travelled, of just being able to be a part of something like this. I mean, imagine, but particularly for this under-15s category, imagine being 14, 15, travelling from China, the US, the Cayman Islands and stuff like that to come and play here. What an experience.
And don't forget, this is school terms. They would have had a week off school for this. So when they get back home, absolutely everyone is going to be talking to these people saying, how was it? What happened? You got a week, you know, like, it's such a phenomenal spectacle. And just looking around, I think 7, 8, 9 pitches that we've got available, all of them being taken up. You know, this is the first day of 4. Massive production on it. There's this pitch live stream, there's so many pitches round, there's so many people here, the atmosphere is buzzing, and I think you couldn't really ask for more for a junior touch competition.
Absolutely, it's spectacular, and I think what's most telling, I mean, he's stood right next to us, so it's slightly awkward, but we've got Mark Croston here, stood watching every single second of what's going on out there. You know, that's pure passion. That just shows you this is a proper community from around the world playing together. It's passion from those right at the very top for an aspect of the game that is very easy for someone right at the top end not to have a passion in, and that's that sort of junior age categories where it's incredibly important to those playing it. But you see in so many sports, those at the top level perhaps letting someone else deal with that. Not a bit of it. We've got the top brass here, and they've not taken an eye off the action. Yeah,
100%. And you know, we're talking about the top people in like admin and production, but then you look at coaches for some of these teams, and you've got men's opens, women's opens, some of the best players in the UK, some of the best players in Europe, coming down and coaching these junior sides, imparting their knowledge. And if you're a new player and you've got brilliant physical attributes, you get selected for one of these squads, and then you're being coached by someone who's done it at the very highest level, who is just there to instill the love and passion of the sport in you. I mean, I think for me, if I was that person, if I was that 14-year-old, 15-year-old, and this is my first entry into touch, I'd be hooked. I don't think I could believe what I was walking into.
Yeah, it'd be pretty difficult to leave after an international tournament of this regard and getting to participate in it. Wales are out bright and early. They just want more of the same. 11-1. They head into this second half leading. China a little slower to take the field, perhaps unsurprisingly. They've probably got a few more messages that need to be spread. But the hooter goes, we're all ready. China starting not quite from the middle of the field. They're obviously trying to work something down the right-hand side if they can, or perhaps they're going to just try and tie the Welsh defence over to the right and then move to the left, and that seems to be what they're doing, and it's much better progression up the field than we saw through much of the first half, and it's not quite yielded a try, but it was a promising bit of play. That
if that's how the second half is going to go for China, it's going to be a much more productive second half for China, because they got to that side really well, and they've just forced a turnover there in defence, and now you're essentially going to have a set of 6 to use in its entirety to have a crack at the line. And for China, if you can get a score early doors, then that instills loads of confidence. You just need to get moving forward, eat up some of these yards like they're doing, using the pace. Really good meters just to get there, but I think they're going to call offside.
Just needed a wider pitch there, didn't he? He was away. Another 5 meters on the sideline there, he would have been in.
Yeah, I think if that was a full-length contact pitch, then he would have been diving into the corner.
China's solitary try scorer there in possession, Zhang Chen-sun. Wales possession though. First chance to see what they've got in store in the second half. We saw them make really good meters in every possession pretty much in the first half, and they're going all right so far, coming up to third touch and crossing the halfway line. In fact, still going. Touch was missed. Wales are going to be away for their first score of the second half. Finlay Britton is going to be the man to score it. I think that makes it his hat-trick. An evening to remember for Finlay Britton.
It's really good pace coming around the outside. Just shows for the touch, puts the burners on. And that's the reward you get from a really direct transition. You know, a lot of teams will take too many touches up and down the sub box trying to get fresh legs on. But Wales are really adamant at just getting the ball down, getting one player on to go play expansive. And they didn't even need that in that instance because the pace and power of the transition was too much for China. And it just creates the space. You know, if you're always running at defenders that are retreating, you're always going to have meters to run into.
Oh, China could have an opportunity here. Touch might just have been made, I think. It has been, but they came oh so close through boot on the right-hand side. She's a slight figure, and I thought she might just have managed to squeeze her way underneath the touch, but not quite. But again, promising signs for China here in the second half. They've definitely upped their game from the first, and they're going close again.
We're starting to see some structure now from China. They've run a little link punish there, didn't quite come off. They're gonna have no touch to play with, but they're gonna have one more opportunity at the line. The pace is probably gonna come. Really good covering touch. 6 made, but this is more positive from China, using their touches more effectively, running at offside defenders rather than players who are always onside. And if they can keep forcing a couple turnovers, especially in Wales transition, then they're gonna enjoy some more field position.
They are indeed, and Wales making terrific ground here though, coming up for a fourth touch. In fact, fourth touch not made, so Wales are going to cross again. And it's the lady in the pink boots once more. 2 tries for her. Came rushing on from the subs box, and without a moment's hesitation, Sienna McCormack is racing away for try number 2 for her, try number 13 for Wales. I would say unlucky, but not for them. 13 and feeling very, very happy out there.
Yeah, I think if we went back and looked at the scores that Wales have put on, we'd see a large portion of them have come from that transition. Just driving really hard, really fast, utilising all the players that they've got on the pitch, making good decisions whilst on the ball. And, you know, when you're playing against a team that, you know, even when they're trying to get fresh legs on, look dangerous, then it's, you're really up against it to try and create some opportunities.
In a funny sort of way, correct me if I'm wrong, but I sort of feel like those last 2 tries, China probably will feel like they can live with, in the sense that they're just missed touches created by a mismatch in pace. And when that happens, there's no structural flaw in effect. It's just you're unlucky in that someone's taking you on who's just blessed with a, particularly this age group, more physical superiority just based on the fact that they've grown quicker.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially, you know, that last touch, I think is, you know, highlights exactly what you're saying, that those scores you can live with because it is just pace on pace, and unfortunately you've not got as much pace as someone else, there's not many things that you can do. So yeah, you know, as far as the second half goes, this is a much better showing from China. You know, seems to be a lot more composed, making touches, getting out really well. They just need to get up and put pressure on, because even then Wales have dropped the ball, maybe through a little bit of complacency, just taking their eyes off it, taking the foot off the gas. And these are opportunities that China can execute. If China can get down to the other end efficiently, use their touches well, unfortunately the ball just goes to ground there, but you can capitalise on those instances when you're forcing turnovers.
Wales then, this is where they've been so dangerous in transition. This one's stalled slightly, although now they find a bit of space to move into. A little slow getting their final player on, so they just hit the brakes and go again. If they got that one down, referee looks as though he thinks they have. And the referee does indeed think they have, and case there of just running at offside defenders. I think they were having to back off, and they just couldn't get the touch in time.
Yeah, definitely. The core skills from this Welsh side are really strong. You know, they're getting the ball off the ground nice and quick, running direct to offside defenders. You know, all of like the core components that you need for good touch teams are evident here, and they're executing it really well.
They are indeed. Fred Dineen getting that score for Wales. His first of the game. And it's Dineen in possession again. takes the touch. On they progress. A lot of space out on the right-hand side. China are going to have to move across well to cover it, and they do manage to do that. Good identification of where the threat was coming from Wales there, from China. The threats still come though as Priest Evans takes it forward and has it in possession again. Just backs off a little bit. Now has a little dabble down the left.
Yeah, I think the referee just saying, whilst you're in your 7 as the defensive side, you've got to keep advancing. You can't just hold your space on the line. And a couple of the Chinese players just not quite advancing at the rate that's deemed okay from the referee. So Wales get another set of 6 here at the line.
Wales dive for the line, might just have been made, or is the referee signalling there might be a touch? No, we're happy with that. And it's another try for Noah Williamson, who's starting to have a fairly sizable personal haul. Yeah, Williamson.
That's the benefit you get of being quite a small, slight figure in this age group, is you can put the step on and get underneath the covering arms. As you can see there, just gets underneath the covering defenders. Lovely little touch. And that's that textbook touch dive. Ball out really far ahead. You're almost sliding on top of it as you get into the line.
You're in the 7 now. 16 years, good. Hold. Okay, don't drop. Yes, on the line. There, guys. Yeah, you're good, 16.
I do apologise. I've been off finding out about the ball size, because I thought, I wonder if they're using a smaller ball at under 15s. Based on that very point you just made about Noah Williamson with that dive, because of course the one-handed dive, you've got to keep the ball in your possession. You're using a full adult-sized ball there. That's a real skill in itself, being able to keep that ball under your control, one-handed as you dive, as a 14, 15-year-old. That's impressive.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just a testament to the core skills of some of these players. That is just so good. You know, the core skills that on show, especially, you know, your traditional catch, pass, scoop. They're your 3 things that you really need. Yeah, you can add like a really clean dump and a couple other things here and there, but the 3 things you really need are catch, pass, scoop. And these guys have it in abundance. And the ability to be able to palm that ball out one-handed, dive on top of it and get the ball down at the line is incredibly impressive for the age.
Certainly is. I struggle enough moving the ball in one hand, and I'm... God, what am I now? 35. Ancient. China ball. What can they do with it? Midway through the second half. A little bit tighter in this second half, which is good news for China. But that one goes awry, so we go back for Welsh possession. Morris takes the first touch. Now they hit the pace. There could be some space out wide. Can they get it through the hands? No, steps inside. William Morris had 2 options available to him, and he took one of them and scored the try.
Yeah, very nice. It's the 32 variation. They've been running a couple shorts. This time the player just checks, runs the long, gets on the outside of the middle, feeds the pass. Really nice left foot step.
And it's so hard to defend against that when you're 2-on-1. You're always worried about chasing the outside player, and it just makes that step on the inside all the more easy to pull off.
Yeah, definitely. That 2-on-1 is just so tough as a defender, especially, you know, as she was at the wing. It's just so tough. You've got to pick an option, and typically you're just sort of hoping that that's the right one. There's not many right options on a 2-on-1 because the defense have so many opportunities and options just to make that count.
The tip I always got from a contact perspective, but I think probably applicable in touch as well, is close down the easiest possible option. Close down the person who could step on your inside, make them make the pass, because you never know, they might get it wrong.
Yeah, it's just that immediate threat as well. That's the one that I would always go for, is, you know, who's got the ball in hand. I'd be going to knock that ball down if they're trying to get the pass away. Just whatever you can to stop the try. Doesn't matter if they get a repeat set of 6 off the back of it. You just want to, you know, create the defensive play to alleviate the stress and strain on your team.
Wales working across to their box. In their haste to get there, they're off the mark, so China ball. Good opportunity for China here.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, they're able to take the ball down really well. But China, when they get up in the face of the Welsh players, are forcing turnovers. Unfortunately, it's just taken a bit of a, yeah. It's unfortunate because the referees are being very, very, very strict on the hips, not square. But it's one of the fundamentals of touch, is when you dump the ball, your hips have got to be square to the try line, and if they're too far either side, you can create an unfair advantage.
Wales have absolutely swept up the pitch. The Divas. Bit of space starting to open up as the defence bunches in on them. Now they go direct through the heart of the defence, and the try is going to be given. Thomas Priest-Evans with that one, and they squeezed the defence up. It looked as though the options were both out wide. Perhaps China just recognising that, and in their haste to try and get across to cover, gap emerges in the middle around the retreating player. And Priest-Evans only too happy to take advantage.
Yeah, and it seems like Wales have changed their focus from driving and scoring through transition to taking your time and scoring through design set plays when you get to the line. We saw them be very patient in engaging the Chinese defence just to make sure they had every opportunity to run their design play to then get the desired result. And for me, Wales, you know, this is the perfect opening game. Is you've not really been stressed too much. Yes, there's been some unforced errors that will need to be cut out, but Wales have executed their attacking game plan really well. Their transition looks really smooth, and as we're seeing now from this pod, is they've got the ability to attack, defend, and then go and attack again, which is a skill that not many people have.
It has been a performance in many ways beyond their years from this Welsh side, I'd say. They've looked incredibly detailed in what they do, and of course with no little talent and ability out there as well, as they cross for another try. I think that time it's another for Oceanaires. But it has been a performance of real maturity in terms of that ability to have a plan and execute.
Yeah, and I think for a coach, if you're this Welsh team's coach, you stood on the sidelines, you're probably thinking, there have been times we could have been more ruthless. There have been times that we could have not dropped the ball, not overstepped the mark, maybe take a little bit more care with dumping the ball, as you've had a couple loss of control calls. But in terms of that attack, the structure and the fundamentals of that, as the first game shaking off the cobwebs, you can't really be any happier.
And look at this, as going off an amazing weaving run with magical footwork goes Jacob Dalton. Kind of comes to nothing, but thrilled those on the touchlines as he made his way up. Now it may come to something though. There's space for them, and it's Dalton that gets across the line. He started it all off, he finishes it all off, and that's one of the tries of the game.
Yeah, superb feet. Just decided to start putting the step on, not worrying about who was in front of them. Anyone can get stepped, and then really lovely hands just to feed out, and the China defender just trying to get across and eat up the ground, but the ball moves faster than the man.
One thing that's becoming apparent in this Wales side though is that their training hasn't been done in vests, it's been done in t-shirts. There's some pretty serious farmers' tans going on amongst the Welsh side.
To be honest, that must be from a while ago, because if the weather's been like been, well, if the weather in Wales has been anything like it has been in Derby and Nottingham recently, it's not been very good at all.
Oh, we're going to need to speak to them after the game, aren't we? And find out if they've been on a warm weather training camp, somewhere a little more exotic than here.
Well, yeah. Where have you gone on holiday? Because the weather's definitely a lot nicer than English weather right now. That's one of the things that's really impressed me actually about this Welsh side, is their ability to eat up so many yards off first touch. A lot of teams will just engage the first defender that promotes when you've got your transition. But these guys just want to make yards. They don't want to stop. They drive with real intent. And if the best way to do that is for someone to get stepped and we go around the outside, then someone gets stepped and they go around the outside. Oh, unlucky. Ball just goes to ground.
Couple of minutes left. China looking for a second score if they can, but a forward pass, and Wales are going to have the opportunity here, and China will be desperate to keep them from scoring. Try 20, but the way this Welsh side has been playing, you wouldn't bet against them finding a way to get across the line here. They've been so clinical in this part of the field. And they're looking so again. Williamson, oh, he's having some day out there. His powers of observation of what defenders are doing around him are just so impressive for one so young.
Yeah, that is such a good way to put it, because he's been able to read this defence so well. One dummy, two dummy, dots the ball down. Superb ball skills.
Oh no, Williamson, I don't know if you're family are watching or if they're all here at the ground alongside, but if they are, let me tell you, they are all very proud of what you're doing out there. A little error coming in there, ball just knocked down. 6 again for China. Let's see, can they close this one out with a score? One try scorer there. Sun was taking that one in. He's in possession again, feeds it out wide. In fact, they hadn't had 6 again, so they've run out of touches. Wales ball. Under a minute left in this opening game of the Atlantic Youth Touch Cup, and it has been an opening performance of real majesty from Wales in this mixed under-15 competition. And they simply ghost through for another score. Oceanair, another who's been scoring for fun out there. He's been a thorn in the Chinese side throughout the last 39 and a bit minutes.
Yeah, it's just really good recognition again. Ref calls defender offside, goes round the outside, puts the icing on the cake for Wales, and 20 tries the difference in an opening game is something you can, you've got to be delighted with it. That is the opening game of dreams for Wales.
It certainly is. The hooter goes, and that is it. It's all over here in the opening game of the Atlantic Youth Touch Cup. Wales in supreme form against China in this mixed under-15 competition. A 21-1 victory. And Wales in dreamland to kick us off here.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, that combination of the fundamentals of touch and then your natural ability of your pace, of your power, your step, your footwork. It's all come together for Wales then. And, they would have been training for this game for, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months. All throughout the year. As soon as this event was put in the calendar, be training for it, and 20 tries the difference in your opening game. That does not come around very often.
It certainly doesn't, and we are just 10 minutes away from the next game, which kicks off at 5:55, and it's a special one. We stay in this mixed under-15s competition. It's France against Ireland. Now, every game is special this weekend, but let me tell you why that one is going to be so special, because Ireland have only just made it here by the skin of their teeth. They flew across from Ireland to Manchester today. Their flight was delayed. An hour ago, they were still in Manchester, but they're here and they're ready to go. I can see them, and I tell you what, if that's not something to get us all excited, I don't know what is. Coming up in just a few minutes time then, it's France against Ireland in the mixed under-15s here at the Atlantic Youth Touch Cup.
Detroit. You took the midnight train going
Oh, sport mode. That's how much I care about the threes. Even got them in sport mode.
We need to make sure that we're working on staying tight in D, and then when we're up there, we need to be a bit more organised. So 32 shorts, doing the quickies. I realise the camera's on me, so I'm trying to keep talking.
We're keeping them in their half really well, so keep working hard because they're taking.
Wow. Check out the scenes here at the Atlantic Youth Touch Cup, the France team with an absolute legion of fans, all the players from all their other age groups getting involved out there on the pitch, waving them through. Magical stuff. That is what this weekend is all about. And let us not forget this Ireland side that has somehow, some way managed to make it. They may not have had to travel as far as some, but they have had to fight tooth and nail just to make it here. Let's see what they've got to offer. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if it's just that the music is pumping and we're all ready to go, but Joe, something feels a little bit special here.
Yeah, this has got the hallmarks of such a good game. You know, I always love it. I always love it when a team's got adversities to overcome to get to a comp. I feel like it always fires them up. I was looking at Ireland in their warm-up, going over to parents giving them a hug, you know, revving them up, really telling them, like, come on, it might have been hard work to get here, but now we're here, let's show everyone what we're capable of. And if this boys side, or if this mixed side has anything to do with the Ireland side that men's open, Old Wesley, then this Ireland team will have plays in their locker to execute against any defence. But this France side are so good. You know, the France national team, the national setup is so productive, so effective. And, you know, it seems like the countries with embedded structures to create opportunities for players of all ages to play touch really thrive in these environments, and you're seeing it on the under-15s. This is the next generation of touch players and two of the best nations to do it from.
They certainly are, and I'll tell you what, we've still got about 30 seconds or so to go. The teams have been out on the field ready to start for about 3 or 4 minutes. They are pumped out there, and we are pretty pumped up in here in commentary as well, because this is an exciting one. It looks as though it's going to be John Finnan to take the tap off. I don't even know if we're going to hear the hooter go. Such is the noise level around this pitch at the moment, but as the tap off approaches, so too does the noise drop. The tension goes, the hooter goes, Finnan gets us going, and it's a big and aggressive start. The 15s here, these do not look like 15s though, let me tell you. We have got some sizable human beings out there on the field, but it's an early error from Ireland, and France will have a chance to show us what they've got as they work their way early on towards the subs box. No matter that no one's had to do much running yet, they are into the discipline of getting those changes made good and early, and they make some progress down the right-hand side. It's a good touch coming in there from Ireland. France working their way forward. Could be some space on the left-hand side. Can they get the ball through the hands? But it just goes down. But a big early chance for France. Ireland just getting away with one there, perhaps.
Yeah, good defense work though from Ireland. They were able to scramble really effectively, and now they've got to work into their transition. Really good dump there, working through. They're taking the touch and dumping the ball in the same motion, so you can get away with being a meter behind the defender as you do so, and they get the penalty for offside. And this is essentially another crack at the tap-off.
Needed that penalty as well, because the players hadn't quite made it onto the field in time. And now they work forward. France in good shape in defence at the moment, though. Ireland, though, look as though they've got plenty of patience about their play. Now they explode into life, do really well just to stay on their feet. Philip Finnan, who I presume is brothers with John Finnan, I must go and find out. I didn't get a chance to speak to the Ireland team before the game because obviously they were still travelling across from Manchester Airport. Normally I like to go and have a bit of a chat with the team just to find out things like, are these brothers or not? But I'm going to assume for the moment that Philip and John are brothers until told otherwise, as France work their way towards the sub box. They get them on pretty smoothly as well. A slight mistouch just helping them out as well to get those extra meters, to get everyone running onto the ball, and they've made good progress here. But the ball is spilled and into Irish hands, and it's a free chance to make some cheap yards there for Ireland. Finnan works forwards, and again, an advantageous point from which to make their changes.
Yeah, definitely, and I've been really impressed so far with this Ireland side. You know, for someone who turned up an hour ago, they don't look rusty, they don't look stiff, they look loose, they look ready. Good footwork. Can he get round the outside? Really good covering touch there from the France defender. Just thought he could have been offside. Not the case. Makes the touch. Just two teams feeling each other out for now.
France ball. Working it through over to that subs box. And I have to say, in these opening exchanges, that transition play getting across the box from both sides has been really impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I think France have been able to showcase it a little bit more because they've had to transition from deep more often than Ireland have. But both teams getting fresh legs on and off very effectively. And it leads to fresh players in attack, as we see. Sweeper play.
Chance for France. Diving across they go. And the try is awarded, the opening score of the game. Alexandre Lichtel with the score.
It's a really good play. They try and run the sweeper. Dumping player steps back on the inside rather, says, give me the ball, we don't need the sweeper player. Steps back on the inside, gets underneath the covering defender. Creates the separation, 1-0.
Alexandre Lichtel with the score. And France with the early lead, but this feels like already we are into a bit of a tight game. Both sides looking as though they've got plenty to offer and just fall short on communication there. They'd worked well to find the opening, and then just in the crucial moment, the outside player for Ireland started to cut in just as the head had gone down to make the play from the inside player.
Yeah, you know, Ireland worked really hard to create the overlap they had. It's a beautiful whip pass out to the female link. Unfortunately, the two female players on this side just not quite on the same page, and the ball goes to ground, but the option was there, the opportunity was there. I've got a feeling we're going to be talking a lot about the two brothers because they look absolutely rapid. They look like the players who are going to create something out of nothing.
Yeah, everything so far working through those two, and I feel as though the fact that they're on different pods suggests to me that they've got everything they want to go through at least one of those brothers.
Yeah, and to be honest, they look like well-designed touch players. You know, they're long, very long limbs, very athletic, both shown a step so far. And yeah, I don't think it's by, well, I think it's by design that you've got one in each pod, because they both look like absolute monsters when they're on the ball.
France, though, putting the pressure on. Could there be a second score? Almost. Just needed to give the pass a little earlier, perhaps.
Yeah, but I think the supporting player, the female link, could have cut back against the grain on her line. Always fading away allows the defence to just track across and cut out space rather than have to commit to players.
Particularly with that player that was also available on the outside, would have had two options available and forced the defence into making a decision.
Yeah, exactly that. If you know, one player just takes the responsibility to cut back against the grain. Although the wheels are on show, is he just going to go on the outside? Sticks a hand up as he goes round, but unfortunately he stepped out. And it's not going to count, but there's the first threat from Ireland.
Finnan it was, making that burst around the outside. As soon as you see that arm windmilling, you know he's dancing with the touchline on the far side there.
Yeah, definitely. I've been caught out by the touchline, as have many a player. It happens. But it just goes to show the pace and power on show. Oh, as France replying with one of their own, cutting straight through the middle.
Martin Punier with the score, scything through, and Punier doubling the lead for his side.
Yeah, really good work by the female link, because she shows us an option to step back on the inside. Ball gets given, and then you're in behind the retreating defender, and then that's just, you know, I'm running forward, you're running backwards. There's only one winner in that race.
It was a valiant effort on the diving touch from Rory McCall, but nobody was stopping Punier from there. Finnan.
It's better play from Ireland. They're generating the quickie again. Dive at the line. For me, ball down. Referee's in agreement. Lovely score, opening score for Ireland.
And it's John Finnan with that one, and well, we said early on that we thought it was going to come from one of those two, and it was that length and athleticism that you spoke of that allowed that score, diving in from a fair way out.
Yeah, unfortunately, the two French middles just didn't quite make it onside before the ball was down. And what was nice is, you know, first 5 minutes when Ireland got into the attack, they were a little bit fragmented, just sort of running around, trying to create space. And then they went back to some more conventional touch structure, running a couple quickies. And when you've got someone who has a very athletic dive, and you know, typically if you're looking for an athletic dive, you're looking for a big wingspan because you can dive from 7-8 meters out. That's exactly what they have in that pod, and they executed it to perfection.
France could have an opening here, but the ball is intercepted by Ireland. It's a foot race that's won by France, but Ireland sending the heart rates through the roof there with that interception. Diving touch again from France, who have scrambled their defence brilliantly on this play and forced Ireland actually into a third touch much earlier than they'd have wanted to, despite having such a promising position. But how about that for a bit of footwork from Finnan? Oh, we are seeing some serious magic out there at the moment.
Oh, and Ireland now will have an extra touch to play with. Unfortunately, the ball just goes to ground. But this Ireland side look exciting. If they can, you know, piece together some structure and attack, they'll be able to create more separation when they get to the French line. Unfortunately, it's just not quite happening. But you know, maybe that's rusted for a team that arrived an hour ago, when this French side has probably been here the vast majority of the day, warming through their structures.
Oh, how about that? Oh, and the forward roll to finish it off. Stylish play from Leah Martin Mendes Lopez for France. What a score. It was the wiggle of the hips, the half a dummy. She dummied with her hips rather than with the ball, and just found her way through the gap. And look at that for a finish. Oh,
superb finish, superb. Yeah, little shimmy, little hitch kick just to get through the gap. Sends the dummy, creates the space, goes around the outside. And I've got to say, the atmosphere here whenever a French goal goes in is electric.
Oh, we're being treated to some serious play out here. If it's not Finnan dancing in a phone booth, it's Martin Mendes Lopez creating magic with her hips. We are seeing something else out there, and it just all calms down just for a moment as Ireland tried to just take a bit of sting out of this one by slowing the pace down, and then a bit of a lack of communication just lets the play crumble. But actually just a slowing of the heart rates there, perhaps what was needed from Ireland, regardless of whether they came away with the ball or not.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, something I've noticed from France here in their transition, they're passing around the male link really effectively to save the touch and take second touch right next to their sub box. And it gives them an extra touch to play with when they get further down the field. And if I was Ireland, I'd be shoving all of my players over to their sub box. Say, let's not let them play around us. Let's send two people up. Because at the moment, France get down the other end and they can do this. They can make you punish, and players are offside. Ball goes. Score given. Superb execution.
Talia Duneman with the try. 4 for France. And after a tense and tight opening 10 minutes or so of this game, it has absolutely burst into life in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's incredibly exciting touch, and what's nice as well, even for the age group, you know, we're talking about under 15, so 13, 14-year-olds, able to analyse what the defence is running. Oh, that's lovely. He might be crawling over the line, but he's got there for my money. And he has for the refs. Superb improvisation.
Absolutely brilliant from John Finnan. He fell over and yet still somehow managed to find a way just to keep the legs going and get across the line. And that's exquisite control of his own body just to find a way to get over the try line.
It's definition of by any means necessary. That's what that is. Just decided, okay, I might be on all fours, but I'm still getting over this line.
Absolutely fantastic, John Finnan. But here come France again. Oh, they are so sharp whenever they get moving forward.
Electric on the ball, absolutely electric on the ball. Quickie play, looks to go to the open side, steps back, covering defender isn't there. Lovely footwork. Absolutely electric. Whenever France get the momentum behind them and get the defense rolling, they are so hard to stop.
Enzo Courtial with that score takes it out to 5-2. And France are just so sharp. And well, as you were saying a few moments ago, this doesn't feel like under 15s at all, does it?
No, definitely not. I think both teams have been able to recognise how the opposition are defending, and are now starting to run plays to execute that properly. What I'd like to see more from this Ireland side is, you know, more directness, not burning so many touches. And unfortunately, there's just some unforced errors, and it lets France off the hook. France, in the moments where they look really stressed, an error from Ireland just alleviates all that pressure.
France again, as you say, getting to that box just so nicely and across the halfway line, almost before anyone's ever blinked and taken notice, and they're making good progression here. Ireland have managed to close up that wide space nicely. And France still working away. Oh, the draw and the give and the finish.